It wasn't built to win. It was built to make them bleed. The wreckage drifted silently through the black metal twisted by plasma fire, hulls venting ghosts of oxygen, and the red glare of a dying star burning over the shattered bones of 10 civilizations. In the center of it all, battered and broken but somehow still there, hung the last Terran dreadnought, the Vengeance. To the Empire of Sirith, it was an anomaly, a statistical impossibility, one human warship obsolete. By their standards, manned by flesh and grief and fury, had halted an advance that had consumed entire star systems in days. But the war didn't begin here. It began in silence. The Earthborn Confederacy was gone, not destroyed, erased. When the Sirith fleets arrived in Sol, there were no warning shots, no diplomacy, no demands, only gravity bombs and searing blue, lances that split Luna into glowing arcs of dust. The first thing they took was memory. The second was hope. Captain Idris Harlan survived the fall of Earth aboard the Vengeance, then still docked near Proxima Station. He'd watched his homeworld die from the shadow of the Kuiper Belt, powerless. By the time the order came to retreat, he'd already given a different one. We do not run. We do not kneel. We make them remember us. A relic of a forgotten navy, the Vengeance was deemed too costly to scrap and too stubborn to update. Harlan called her perfect. She was human through and through. Scars over repairs. Analog systems that resisted EMP. No AI pilots, no synthetic. Logic cores, just 213 souls and a will forged in extinction. The survivors gathered, not just from Earth, but from the mining moons of Tau Ceti, the rogue colonies of Bastion Line, the orbital slums of Orion's Reach. Every deck on the Vengeance bore a story, every breath a vow. They would not let humanity vanish as dust in the archives of the galaxy. Yet what could they do against them? The Sirith were not cruel. Cruelty implies emotion. They were absolute and ancient collective intelligence bound by consumption. No broadcasts, no symbols, no mercy. Their ships moved like living organisms, pulsing with internal gravity and quantum shields. Worlds fell before them like glass under hammer. And still, the Vengeance refused to break. Harlan had one weapon left: time. Time to understand the enemy. Time to gather whispers from the void. Time to become a myth before the Sirith could catalog humanity as just another footnote in their ledger of conquests. On the edge of the Naris Expanse, 3 years after Earth fell, the Vengeance emerged from the cloak of a neutron storm, trailing debris and death. She was a ghost ship in appearance, but she had killed a Sirith World Ren cruiser 2 days before. Cole Mercer, chief engineer, leaned against the cracked bulkhead, hands coated in engine oil and dried blood. We've got one fusion coil left, and the starboard cannons are out unless I rewire them manually with prayer. Idris Harlan didn't blink. His eyes were pale gray, like ash left after the fire. Then start praying. We make our stand here. Sir, they're coming. 30 warforms. Maybe more. I know. You expect us to win? No, Harlan said softly. I expect them to feel what we felt. Maëla Voss, the Vengeance's comms officer, was once a linguist on Europa. She hadn't spoken her native tongue in years. She now listened for enemy pulses, translated their hive speak into grim predictions. They're hesitating, she murmured, scanning the faint tremors echoing through subspace. They don't understand why we're still here. Idris smiled. For the first time in months. Good. Let confusion be the crack we drive the knife into. In the cold war room beneath the bridge, the crew gathered. Some wore patched uniforms. Others wore the insignias of colonies long turned to ash. Every face bore loss, but not defeat. Harlan stood before them, coat tattered, one eye dulled by radiation. They think we're done. They think humans are. Fragile because we grieve, because we remember. He looked across the faces of his broken crew. But grief is not weakness. It is fuel. We remember, and because we remember, we do not surrender. He touched the old naval seal welded to the war table, an emblem half melted in the fires of Earth's last day. They will come. They will be relentless. And we will stand. Not because we think we'll live through it, but because they must never forget that one ship, one crew, and one species made them bleed. A beat of silence followed. Then came the oath, rising not as a chant, but as a roar. Let them come. The stars dimmed as the Sirith fleet arrived, black wings blotting out constellations. Quantum weapons charging with soulless precision. But the Vengeance powered up. Her ancient engines screamed. Her crew took positions. Her captain closed his eyes and whispered the names of the dead. As the war alarms blared and the gravity well-twisted space around them, a strange signal shimmered faintly across the stars. One no one expected, one not human. A fragment of something old, deep, and forbidden. Voss froze at her console. "Captain," she said, voice trembling, "I just received something." "What is it?" "It's not Sirith. It's not us either." She turned slowly. It said, "You are not alone." The stars fractured. 30 Sirith warforms emerged from fold space like black monoliths, their hulls gleaming with molten veins, gravity rippling around them like the breath of a god. Each one larger than a Terran city. Each one carrying the cold, sterile purpose of annihilation. They made no demands. They never did. The Vengeance stood alone, scarred, wheezing, glowing faintly with patchwork reactor light, its silhouette insignificant compared to the celestial Goliath's bearing down on it. And yet it did not yield. Captain Idris Harlan stood in the dim glow of the bridge, one hand braced on the railing as the deck thrummed under his boots. "Hold position," he said quietly. Commander Alara Khan, his second-in-command and the only officer from Earth's Arctic Command to survive the orbital purges, glanced up from tactical. "Sir, their formation's tightening. They're encircling us." "Let them," Harlan said. "They want a display. Let's give them a show." The crew moved with silent urgency. Shields sputtered to life, barely operational. The kinetic cannons swiveled, dented and half-melted. Archer missile bays hissed as they locked into place. All outdated weapons. All loaded by hand. The Sirith approached. No formation breaks. No hesitation. They hadn't lost a battle in 9 centuries. To them, this wasn't a war. It was a ritual. They advanced like tides, programmed by ancient logic and immune to fear. Until now. Deep in the Vengeance's lower decks, Cole Mercer ripped apart a coolant manifold with bare hands, sparks raining on his face. "Come on. Just give me 10 seconds of overdrive," he muttered, sweat soaking his jumpsuit. Above him, the reactor screamed. The sound was less mechanical and more like pain, like something alive was dying very slowly and very loudly. He grinned. "That's it, baby. Sing." On the bridge, Mela Voss stared at her readout, lips pressed thin. That strange transmission still pulsed faintly through the comm array, but it was inconsistent, fragmented, as if the message itself was fighting to exist. "You are not alone," she repeated under her breath. Harlan glanced over. "Still reading it?" She nodded. "It's coming from deep space. Unregistered band. Too clean to be static. Too human to be coincidence." "Then triangulate," he said. "We might need friends or ghosts." The first Sirith attack began like a surgical strike. A lance of pure gravitational compression lanced through space, carving the void with impossible force. Shields screamed as they buckled. Decks cracked. Fire tore through Corridor Gamma 6, killing 12 before the blast doors sealed. "They're testing us," Alara said, tone unreadable. "They still don't believe we're real," Harlan replied. "Should we show them?" He turned to her, You know what to do." She nodded and opened a channel. Across the void, a single Terran signal pulsed, encrypted, laced with defiance. "This is Terran Dreadnought Vengeance. Stand down or be buried." The Sirith response was silence. Then they fired. 3 warforms opened up with disintegration beams. The space around Vengeance boiled. Bulkheads shrieked. Artificial gravity reversed for a heartbeat. Dozens were thrown against steel. Milla hit the floor, blood blooming from her temple. She crawled to her station, blinking stars from her vision. "Hull, breach deck 5. Cole, reroute power now or we lose core integrity." "I'm working blind," came the growl through the... "Come, then guess faster." In the medbay, a young boy, maybe 12, barely alive, clutched a scrap of Terran cloth in one hand. He'd been rescued from the Bastion mines. His mother hadn't made it. Dr. Cyril Lynn held him close as the ship shook around them. "They're just machines," the boy whispered. "No," Syrah said softly, voice calm as her hand sewed a gash across his chest. "They're worse. Machines don't forget. These things, they catalog. What do they want?" Syrah didn't answer, because no one knew. In the command center, alarms blared. Damage reports flooded in. Alara stared at the holomap. "Sir, we can't survive another hit like that." Harlan exhaled slowly. "No," he said, "but we can make them bleed first." He keyed the reactor line. "Cole, overload the forward capacitors. Divert auxiliary power to cannon array 6. Prepare to fire all remaining archers. Doing that will fry the spine of the ship." "I know." A pause. "Done." The Vengeance roared. From her belly, the last 20 Archer-class nuclear missiles ignited with a scream of ion fire and streaked into the void. The Sirith didn't even bother to move. They had never needed to dodge. But these missiles were different. They didn't aim for hulls, they aimed for blind spots. Microbursts detonated ahead of impact, scattering engineered chaff, penetrating frequency armor. 3 warforms shuddered. One imploded entirely, folding in on itself like glass meeting. A black hole. It wasn't enough, but it was something. It was resistance. "They're adapting," Ilara said grimly. "Rerouting their tactical clusters. Learning from us." "Then don't let them finish," Harlan said. "Initiate ramming vector." Her eyes widened. "That's a suicide run." "Not if we hit the right one." Ilara hesitated, then nodded. The Vengeance began to turn. Her engines, ancient and wounded, spat flame like dragons of old. The Sirith watched, for the first time in their long, cold existence. They hesitated, and in that moment the signal pulsed again stronger, clearer. Voss stood upright, heart racing. "Captain, that transmission? It's not from deep space anymore." He turned to her. "It's coming toward us." She looked up. And then, across the dying stars, a shadow appeared behind the Sirith fleet. Not human, not Sirith. Something else. And it spoke. "Terran ship, we remember you. Terran ship, we remember you." The voice cracked across every open channel comm, ancient and laced with impossible familiarity. Captain Idris Harlan's blood ran cold. "Source," he barked. "Track it." Mela Voss's hands flew. Across her console, pupils dilated. They just came out of folded space, but not through it. They tunneled around gravity wells. She choked. "That's impossible." But it wasn't the physics that left the bridge in stunned silence. It was the ship. It emerged like a cathedral of motion-sleek, organic, shimmering, with layers of impossible material. Not metal, not grown. Something else. A single curved hull with no visible engines, no weapons, no markings. And yet it dwarfed the Sirith. Ilara Khan whispered it before anyone else. The Arkan. Half the bridge turned toward her. "Old myth," she said. back before Earth's fall, a vanished race from before the Cirith. People said they were gods, or cowards, or saviors. Harlan stared at the ship as it drifted past them, positioning itself between Vengeance and the Cirith fleet. They're not myths anymore. The Cirith warforms responded instantly. 20 ships moved into flanking position, their spines flexing in eerie unison, preparing to obliterate both the Vengeance and the new arrival. A clean sweep. The Arkan vessel didn't move. Instead, space folded around it, without sound, without light, as if reality itself was being rewritten. 3 Cirith warforms vanished. No fire, no debris. Just gone. The rest of the fleet paused. That had never happened before. Inside the Vengeance, the crew stood frozen. Cole Mercer stared at the tactical map. They just blinked out. Like someone deleted them from the map of the universe. They were vaporized? Alara asked. No, Cole said slowly. It's like they were never born. A second signal pulsed across the bridge. This one was targeted. Direct. A message addressed to Captain Harlan. Voss relayed it to the speaker. You are the last ember of your kind. You stood when all others fell. That cannot be ignored. We are the Arkan. We do not intervene. But we remember those who choose defiance. You have one chance. Harlan narrowed his eyes. Chance for what? There was no response. Then the Arkan ship pulsed again, visually this time. Its hull rippled with a wave of data, forming complex geometric patterns in hard light above. The bridge, blueprints, weapon systems, core schematics. A complete transfer. Voss stared, awestruck. It's a gift. They're rewriting our entire ship. Cole was already running diagnostics. No, not rewriting Awakening. They're showing us what this ship was meant to be. What we used to almost understand. Why now? Alara asked, voice low. Because, Harlan said, we finally made someone notice. Over the next 7 minutes, the Vengeance changed. Not completely, not magically. But the decks lit with new potential. Systems long dormant flickered to life. Weapons once deemed relics hummed with strange harmonics. The hull patched with scrap from 30 years of fleeing began to pulse with something alive. You seeing this? Cole breathed. The reactor core just stabilized. Not repaired, perfected. I'm reading output at 6 times normal levels. We could run every weapon and still power a city. Alara stared at the new interface unfolding on her console. These algorithms, they're teaching us how to see space differently. They're rewriting the rules of war. And then came the words on every screen, in every tongue. Ignite the spark. Harlan stood, voice low but steady. Target. The nearest Cirith warform. Load everything. Alara looked at him. We have one shot. Then make it count. In the dark, the Vengeance came alive. New cannon ports unsealed. Gravimetric lances extended like spears. The ship wounded, forgotten, damned became something more than warship. It became a symbol. The last Terran breath drawn deep before the scream. Fire. The lance tore through vacuum like a blade of thought. The Cirith warform tried too. Shift phase, but it was too slow. The Arkan-enhanced weapon bypassed its quantum armor, targeted its temporal core, and shattered the logic that held its mass together. It imploded into itself, a direct kill. Cheers erupted on the Vengeance. For the first time in years, it felt like victory was more than a whisper. Alara turned. That got their attention. Indeed, it had. The rest of the Cirith fleet began to spread, weaving into attack formations never before used, treating the Vengeance not as an outlier, but as a threat. They're adapting faster, Voss warned. We've shifted from anomaly to primary. Target. Cole's voice crackled over comms. Then we hold the line. Outside, The Arkan ship began to turn. It hovered beside the Vengeance, still doing nothing, watching, and then it left, just like that. It vanished, not folded, not warped, just gone, leaving humanity alone again. Alara cursed. Why would they abandon us? They didn't, Harlan said quietly. They gave us a spark. Now we have to prove we're worthy of keeping it. He looked out at the enemy, and for the first time since Earth burned, he allowed himself a grim smile. They wanted to conquer the last remnants of humanity. He stepped forward. Let's show them what it means. When a remnant fights back. We struck first, and they finally took us seriously. The Sirith formation changed, not like a retreat, not like panic, like a calculation, like something ancient stirring. Across the fractured void, the remaining 26 warforms began to move together not as ships, but as parts of a singular, living weapon. Their hulls crackled, connected by arcs of pulsing gravity, forming an array shaped like a celestial eye. Captain, Milavos said, her voice tight, they're fusing their minds. I think they're preparing a singularity event. Idris Harlan's jaw tensed. That's not a weapon, whispered Alara Khan. That's an erasure. They mean to wipe the entire sector. Us. The star. Everything. The Vengeance's lights flickered under the weight of incoming interference. Reality itself began to stretch. Time slowed. Space buckled. They're going to detonate physics, Cole Mercer spat from engineering. We stay here. We die in every timeline. But no one moved to flee. Because there was nowhere left to run. 3 minutes to impact. Harlan stood before the war table. His mind moved fast, but his voice was calm. They didn't do this on Earth. Not even on Bastion. They're scared. No, Captain, Voss said. They're angry. You embarrassed them. Harlan let the moment hang. Then let's give them a reason to hate us. He keyed the intercom. All hands brace for war. I need every last soul to remember who we are. This is the edge of everything. The line between extinction and defiance. If we fall here, the galaxy will know we chose to burn. And if we live, they will never forget us. Below decks, the crew moved like blood through veins. Doctors turned to gunners. Miners rewired torpedoes. Engineers armed warheads by hand. Children were hidden behind bulkheads. Soldiers, who had buried friends on 3 different moons, now smiled grimly and took their stations. Unity imperfect, scarred, stubborn fueled the Terran dreadnought. And above them all, Captain Harlan gave the order. Hit them first. The Vengeance surged forward. No one expected it. The Sirith's gravitational lattice was incomplete, still forming. The Terran warship dove into its heart like a dagger aimed at a god. Cole's overdriven engines roared. The Sirith adapted. Spines opened. Quantum bolts screamed across space. 2 impacted the Vengeance mid-charge. Deck 9 split open. 38 lives gone in an instant. Smoke flooded the medbay. Mela staggered, coughing blood, but never left her post. Core integrity holding. Forward cannons locked. Alara clung to the tactical rail as the ship trembled around her. We're not going to make it through this. No, Harlan murmured. But they're going to remember trying. Then the Vengeance fired. A full salvo of Arcan-enhanced lances. Not at the Sirith hulls, but at the junction points of their shared gravitational net. Space snapped. The lattice collapsed inward. Energy surged into unintended channels. For the first time in their reign, the Sirith formation broke. 5 warforms were crushed by their own weapon. The rest scattered briefly, reacting. Harlan stood still, watching it all unfold. They bleed, he said. Even gods bleed. But the cost was rising. Deck by deck, the Vengeance burned. Fires in life support, hull breaches in aft storage. Engineering lost power. Cole sealed himself in to reroute coolant lines manually. I'm not dying under a console, he muttered into his calm. Tell Harlan if I don't make it, he still owes me a drink. Mila bled from her temple again, half blind but still translating intercepted Sirath pulses. They're enraged. They're going full assimilation. No more tactics. They want to swallow us. Harlan didn't blink. Then we choked them. Then came the twist. Vos caught it first. Captain, she said, her voice small. Something's wrong. I'm getting a human signal, Elara snapped to her. That's impossible. No ship survived Earth. It's not from Earth, Vos whispered. It's from one of the Sirath warforms. They froze. Are you saying... Harlan asked slowly. She nodded, pale. Someone's alive inside that thing. They tracked it a mid-tier warform partially damaged, pulsing weakly with a Terran distress signal buried beneath Sirath code. Harlan's voice turned to steel. Someone was taken. Not killed. Elara turned sharply. If they're alive, they've been in Sirath hands for years. It could be a trap. Or it could be proof, Harlan said. Proof that they don't just erase. They consume minds, memories, people. And if that's true, he looked around the bridge. Then it's not just about survival anymore. It's about rescue. The mission changed. In that instant, the purpose of the vengeance expanded beyond vengeance. Harlan keyed the war map. New objective. We breach that warform. We get our people back, or we die trying. But how? Vos asked. That warform shielded from the inside out. We don't have the power. The bridge dimmed. Systems flickered. The ship groaned. Cole's voice came through, weak but alive. We don't have the power, but we've got something better. What? A pause. Rage. The vengeance turned. One last burn. One last scream of its dying engines. Toward the warform that held their own, whoever they were trapped inside the beast. The Sirath fleet closed in behind them. 21 ships now. Encircling. Furious. But the humans didn't care. They were no longer fighting to die well. They were fighting to save one of their own. And that changed everything. We didn't turn back for revenge. We turned back because someone inside the monster remembered their name. The Sirath warform loomed like a black sun rotating slowly, shimmering with self-bent gravity, pulsing in a rhythm that had once silenced entire civilizations. But somewhere within that mass of alien perfection, a single Terran distress signal blinked in raw desperation. Harlan stood over the tactical display, jaw set, voice like forged steel. We breach it. We get whoever's in there. We show the Sirath they can't just steal people and expect silence. Elara Khan turned slowly toward him. If we break into that warform, we're not coming out. That was true before this started. She studied him, then nodded once. The crew didn't argue. No one asked if it was worth it. No one suggested retreat. Because for the first time in years, the war had a face again, and a name. The signal was faint, fragmented, but Vos had dug out an identifier buried deep in the old Confederacy databanks. A Terran voice looped again and again across corrupted code. This is Lieutenant Arden Rell. Confederacy ID 427 X-ray. I'm still here. Elara had gone still at the name. You knew him? Harlan asked. She nodded. He was my commanding officer during the Bastion fall. I thought he died with the colony. They didn't kill him, Mila said quietly. They took him. Integrated him. Cole Mercer's voice came through from engineering, raw and hoarse. Then let's tear open that warform and get our man back. The Vengeance changed course directly into the heart of the Sirath formation. 4 warforms moved to intercept. They didn't fire warning shots. They didn't need to. Twin lances of compressed matter screamed through the dark. One scraped the portside plating twisting steel, shearing off 2 whole decks. The other missed but bent space so violently The time lag hit half the crew with neural shocks. 3 died instantly. 6 more went into seizures. Cole rerouted everything into forward shielding. One more shot like that and we're atoms. Harlan said nothing. Just stared at the growing shadow ahead. The prison. The heart of the monster. As they closed the gap, something shifted. The signal grew louder, but not just stronger aware. The voice of Arden Rel, once weak and broken, now came through raw, trembling. Do not come closer. They're using me. Please, turn back. Please. Alara's voice cracked. He's still resisting. Harlan leaned closer. He's afraid we'll die for nothing. No, said Mila. He's afraid he'll be the one who kills us. Then came the revelation. As the Vengeance neared the target, Voss picked up a deep wave anomaly. Captain, she whispered. There's a power flux inside the warform. They're building something. Cole confirmed it a second later. That's not a core. They're spinning up a singularity seed. What is that? Harlan asked. A newborn Sirith intelligence, not a ship. A consciousness. They're not just holding Arden inside. They're using his mind as the template. A terrible silence spread across the bridge. They're making a hybrid. A Sirith that remembers what it means to be human. Alara gritted her teeth. We breach that shell, we might kill him. Harlan looked at the display. If we don't, they kill us all with his voice. The plan was madness. Ram the warform. Detonate a resonance charge at the point of impact. Force open a breach wide enough for a boarding team to slip through and extract the lieutenant. They had 1 charge left, and only 1 pilot insane. Enough to fly the dropship into a Sirith god's eye. Cole volunteered. He didn't ask permission. He just showed up at the hangar bay, strapping into the cracked cockpit of the Arclight, the last functioning Raven-class shuttle. This ship's been a pain in my ass for 4 years, he muttered, flicking failing systems online. Time she earned her keep. Alara strapped herself in beside him. You're not doing this alone. Didn't plan to, he grinned. Good, she said, because I'm not watching another friend get turned into a weapon. They launched. The Arclight shot from the Vengeance like a bullet made of grief and fire, trailing a fusion wake behind it. The warform noticed. It turned its entire mass toward the tiny ship, screaming toward its eye. Dozens of spines opened. Quantum spears shot out. 1 clipped the wing. Another vaporized the left stabilizer. Cole roared and overcompensated, angling. The ship at the breach point. Detonation in 5, 4. A Sirith lance slammed through the tail. Alara hit the manual trigger. The resonance charge detonated on impact. A hole bloomed in the warform. Not big, not stable, but enough. The Vengeance closed fast, sides crumbling, engines on the verge of implosion. Every ounce of her dying might focused on getting through that breach. They made it. Barely. Through screaming void and warped gravity, they pierced the monster. Inside was silence. Organic walls pulsed with light. Human memories, digitized and twisted, flickered across alien surfaces. Earth's oceans inverted. Faces looped into infinite fractals. A child's voice laughing and screaming at once. And there, wired into the core, half human, half machine, was Lieutenant Arden Rel. Eyes open. Tears falling. His voice came as a whisper. You came. He remembered his name, but not which side it belonged to. Inside the warform, time twisted. The boarding team advanced through a living corridor of pulsing bone and light organic tech fused with stolen thought. Memories flickered. On the walls like haunted film reels. Earth skies, oceans, cities, all distorted. Familiar faces bled into Sirith geometries. Voices sang in Terran tones, but with no meaning. Alara Khan led the way, rifle raised, breath shallow under. Her brother. Cole limped behind her, suit cracked, arm in a makeshift sling. Their boots crunched over a surface that was both metal and flesh. At the heart of it all, suspended by thousands of spindled tendrils and glowing umbilicals, was Lieutenant Arden Rel. Half of his body was gone, replaced. Not mechanical. Not grown. Assimilated. He turned his head when they approached, his remaining eye wide and terrified. "You shouldn't have come," he rasped. Alara's voice trembled. "We don't leave our own behind." "You didn't." "Leave me," he whispered. "They kept me, and now I am them." Cole's hand twitched toward his weapon. "No," Alara said quietly. "Not yet." Back on the Vengeance, Harlan stood motionless on the bridge, eyes locked to the feed. "We've got 5 minutes before the fleet reorganizes," Vos warned. "They're converging. Looks like they're planning to collapse the warforms. Core on itself. Bury everything inside Rel, our team, us. They want to erase the evidence," Harlan muttered. "No sign they ever stole a soul." He turned to Vos. "You still have the Archon schematic?" She nodded. "Prep the override pulse. Full amplification. No filters. No safeguards. You want to inject alien code directly into Sireth systems?" He nodded once. "That could fry the Vengeance. Better us than them." Inside the core, Arden Rel's mind was fracturing. "They needed a reference point," he whispered. "They couldn't model humanity. Too chaotic, too emotional. So they kept me. To teach them." Alara touched his arm gently. "Then teach them this. Humans fight for each other. We don't use our own as fuel." He laughed bitterly. "You think I didn't try? I screamed every second. And then I remembered things that weren't mine. Sireth things. Their wars. Their origin. Their reason." Cole stepped closer. "Then you've seen inside them. Tell us, why do they do this?" Rel's eye unfocused. "Because they forgot what pain felt like, so they consume it. Absorb it. And now," he said, voice cracking, "I don't know if the part of me that's still me wants to be saved. Or to end it." Alara raised her weapon. Cole tensed. "Wait," he said. "There's another way." He held up the Archon drive, the last untested interface from the ancient transmission. A flickering disk of alien code stored in Terran. "Housing. If this plugs in, we might overwrite the Sireth logic binding his mind. Restore him. Or kill him," Alara said. "We don't have time to vote." She nodded. Rel met her eyes. "Please," he whispered. "Let me choose who I am." Above, the Vengeance moved again, barely functional, bleeding reactor heat, but alive. The override pulse powered up. Harlan stood alone on the bridge. "Transmit it. Full force." Boss stared at him. "When it hits, they'll all hear it." "That's the point." She paused. "If we fail, what do I tell the others?" Harlan turned, eyes fierce and unflinching. "Tell them we made monsters feel human fear." Inside the warform, the Archon pulse detonated like light inside a sun. The ship trembled. Arden Rel screamed. Tendrils recoiled. The walls cracked. The memory streams shattered into static. The Sireth network convulsed across the warform, across the fleet. For the first time in eons, they felt something unexpected. Uncertainty. Rel fell from the harness. Alara caught him. He was still, barely breathing. But when he looked up, tears in his eyes, they were only his. "Welcome back," she said. He nodded, choking on his own voice. "I remember." Then the floor beneath them exploded. On the outer shell, the Sireth had initiated collapse. They were sealing the breach, crushing the core, erasing the infection. Cole's voice rang over comms. "We're out of time. Grab him." Alara threw Rel over her shoulder, sprinting through the dissolving halls as the entire interior structure collapsed in on itself. Tentacles whipped from the ceiling. Memory matter boiled. The ship screamed. Back on the Vengeance, Harlan gave the last command. Bring them home. A rescue skiff launched from the ship autopiloted, engines already redlining. It pierced the dying warform seconds before it closed. The Cirith fired. The skiff was hit. But it made it, scraped, burning, hull ruptured, but it made it. They dragged Rel aboard the medbay. He was unconscious. Human, alive, but just barely. Alara sat beside his bed, helmet off, hair soaked in blood and sweat. Harlan stood in the doorway. She didn't turn. He's in there. I know. He didn't break. No, neither did you. Voss's voice came through the bridge combs. Captain, the Cirith fleet is changing formation again. How long? Hours, maybe minutes. They're adapting. Again. Harlan stared out at the Black Sea. We bought time. For what? He looked toward the wounded man in the medbay. For what comes next? Then, for the first time since Earth died, they received a signal. Not Cirith, not Arkham. A human signature. A beacon. From somewhere deep in the Orion grave. A voice, old, ragged, but undeniably Terran. If you're hearing this, you're not alone. They came to erase us. We answered by becoming unforgettable. The Cirith fleet moved like a closing Fist 21 remaining warforms, linked in perfect formation, their minds now unified by what the Arkan Pulse had awoken. Fear. They had never known failure, never known disobedience from prey, never imagined a human warship could shatter the purity of their logic. Now, they wanted one thing: annihilation. Of the vengeance. Of the Arkan's corruption. Of the human virus. That refused to die. Captain Idris Harlan stood at the shattered helm of the Vengeance, the bridge flickering with smoke and static. Alara stood beside him, her armor cracked, eyes fierce. Cole was back at the reactor core, stabilizing it by hand. Rull awake. Now sat in a medical sling, bruised and weak, but burning with purpose. They all knew what was coming. Voss turned from the display. They're forming a superstructure linking spines, warping space. They're going to crush us with a spatial collapse. They'll kill us in every possible version of reality. And the beacon we picked up? Harlan asked. Real, she confirmed. Old tech. Buried in the Orion grave. I think it's a relay. Buried deep, deep. Survived Earth's fall. Running cold for almost 30 years. Harlan's voice was low. How many Terrans are left? The silence stretched. Unknown, Voss said. Finally. But if we amplify that signal, we remind the galaxy, Alara said, that we still exist. Harlan turned to Rel. You know what they'll do if they hear us. They'll come. Friends or enemies? He smiled. Faintly. Both. The Vengeance had one chance. One more Arkan-powered pulse, rerouted through its shattered core. Not as a weapon, as a beacon, a scream of light. A pulse across every frequency. A message, not just to the stars, but to the memory of Earth itself. We are still here. But to broadcast it to reach the old relay buried in the grave, they had to climb, literally, through a collapsing corridor of space-time, directly above the Cirith fleet. A suicide arc. Harlan gave the order without hesitation. Bring us vertical. Cole's voice crackled through the comm, groaning. The spine can't take that kind of vector. It only has to hold for 40 seconds. You planning to fly a tomb into the sky? No, Harlan said. A legend. The ship screamed. Engines howled as Cole rebooted plasma through a melted chamber. Bulkheads blew. The hull groaned like a dying god. Fires erupted. Gravity reversed in half the ship. The Vengeance turned its nose skyward toward the grave, toward the last hope. The Cirith moved to intercept. 21 gods, unleashing their full fury. They hit the Vengeance with everything. Grav lances, quantum bolts, dimensional spears. Decks collapsed. Over 100 crew lost in seconds. The medbay ruptured. Voss disappeared in flame and glass. The forward battery melted. And still, the ship climbed. Harlan stood at the bridge console, bleeding, braced against the command rail. Alara held him upright. "Coordinates?" he growled. "Locked," Rel whispered. "Targeting the relay. Dead center. Fire." The pulse ignited. Every reserve of energy left in the Vengeance, every ounce of power the Archon had gifted, every trick Cole had kept hidden channeled into a single scream across space. The message was simple. Just 4 words. We are not done. The pulse raced outward through Sirith, jamming, across broken satellites, through a graveyard of forgotten Terran ships, until it hit the relay and woke it up. Across the Orion grave, dead ships lit up like stars being born again. Old dreadnoughts, black box recorders, hidden bunkers, drones, outposts no one remembered, forgotten colonies. Some still had people in them, others had only silence, but all of them heard and answered. In the far dark, a battered Terran destroyer, the Resolute flickered online. A voice cut through. "Reading your signal. Thought we were the last. We're inbound." Another. "This is the Pillar of Storms. 600 refugees, cryo-sleep, opening comes." Another. "This is Bastion Remnant 9, confirming active fleet status. And Captain, we brought friends." Back on the Vengeance, Harlan collapsed to one knee. "Status?" he rasped. Alara blinked at the rising signal traffic. "You did it," she said. "No," Harlan whispered. "We did." But celebration came too soon. The Sirith fleet did not retreat. It folded. Not away. Downward. Into a single, impossible form, a super war form. Larger than any moon. Its core pulsed like a second star. They were done learning. They had adapted. And now they were coming to erase everything the beacon had awoken. Cole's voice came, shaking. "They're going to drop onto the grave. Wipe it clean. All of it. Every voice we just found." Alara stared at the warform growing. "In the sky. It's too big." "No," Ral said, stepping forward. "It's exactly big enough." They turned to him. "I know what it's thinking," he said, eyes burning with painful clarity. "I can stall it. Not forever, but long enough." "You'll die," Alara whispered. "I already did." Silence. Then Harlan walked up to him, took his hand. "Go." The dropship launched. Arden Rel at the helm. Straight into the mouth of the god. Become stayed open. "Tell Earth I remembered." Then, light not an explosion. A collapse. The Sirith core folded in on itself, a black nova. And with it, silence. The warform was gone. No survivors. But neither was the Vengeance. She broke apart mid-climb, her body shattered by the climb to reach the stars. Yet her message lived, carried now by hundreds of old signals, waking titans, scattered survivors, and rebel ships lighting up across the dark. Humanity was not gone. It had just fallen silent. Now, the stars burned again with noise. The ship was gone, but the signal never stopped. The black void over the Orion grave was still glowing, not from fire, from memory, from wreckage Terran Sirith and stranger drifting like ash across the stars. And through that drifting field of death came voices. The beacon pulsed every 6 seconds, unchanged. "We are not done." It rang through fractured relays, through cryopods buried beneath frozen moons, through broken warships orbiting dead suns, through hearts that had long forgotten how to hope. One pulse, then another, then a reply. In the ruins of the Bastion, Archipelago, an ancient subspace vault opened. An old general stepped into light. He wept. In the Ur fringe, a fleet of exiled engineers turned their scavenged frigates toward the source of the pulse. In a forgotten outpost under Callisto's crust, a child born in silence pointed to the screen and said, "Look, Mama, the stars are singing." Across the remains of humanity's shattered map, the call was heard, and the answer rose. They came not as a fleet, but as a choir of defiance. Scarred destroyers, rusted miners, rebel transports retrofitted into weapons, sleeper ships unthawed by fire. A new kind of Terran force, not a nation, not a command, but a memory that had grown teeth. The death of the Vengeance was not its end. It was the legend that named the resistance. Every signal now bore it. Vengeance-class uplink engaged. Signal confirmed. Human echo registered. The Cirrus staggered. They had not expected this. Not just survival. Not just retaliation, but resurgence. They had broken Earth and every colony. But Earth was never just a place. It was a story. And stories don't die when you kill the last speaker. They just wait for someone to remember the words. In the Terran graveyards, those words rose. In refugee bunkers and pirate signals. In rebel minds and deep code AI that once served Earth's last children. And the word was vengeance. Captain Idris Harlan's name became the Warcry of Outer Rings. Alara Khan's face was painted on broken walls as a saint of the lost. Cole Mercer's reactor hacks became battle doctrine. Arden Relman, weapon. Sacrifice was remembered as the one who chose. And the vengeance? She became the seat of a fleet. Reborn. Copied. Upgraded. Hundreds of ships, no. Two alike, but each broadcasting the same Terran phrase. We are not done. A decade passed. Then another. The war changed. The Cirrus tried to adapt again. But the new Terrans didn't fight with fleets alone. They fought with memory. They carved the names of the fallen into asteroid fields so they could never be erased. They dropped sonic canisters into void space so even in death, humanity would make noise. They sang old songs through quantum frequencies. They lit shattered moons with braziers of pulse light, broadcasting stories, not surrender. And every time a Cirrus warform fell, a new signal echoed. This is for Earth. This is for the vengeance. This is what it means to be human. One day, the Cirrus stopped sending new fleets, not because they had nothing left, but because they finally understood. Humanity couldn't be conquered, only delayed. The more they killed, the more humanity became legend. And legends spread like fire in oxygen. 100 years later, a child born on a reclaimed station in the Perseus Cut asked his teacher, "Did the Cirrus ever win?" And the teacher smiled, drew a long breath, and said, "No." The child frowned. But they destroyed Earth. And the teacher looked out through the glass at the stars burning above. Thousands of them seated with rebuilt colonies, living, languages and quiet joy. Then she answered, Earth was never the end of us, just our beginning. Somewhere, floating in the outer dark, the wreck of the Vengeance still drifts. Its hull is split. Its decks are gone, but the beacon inside still pulses. Every 6 seconds, a heartbeat made of steel, memory, and flame. We are not done. We are not done. We are not done. That day, the galaxy learned what it means to be human. The end.